what this video reveals is that I'm physically a much stronger man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Sure.
like I'm a larger guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's probably why I dominate on the tennis court. Hey, Steve Gadsby here for Fusa Nation, and this podcast is about growing, marketing, and building your HVAC business, but it can really be applied to any type of service company, like even roofing and plumbing and lots of other stuff. But so I'm Steve Gadsby. This is Carrie.
Yep, Carrie Blackburn.
And Carrie is an expert on any sorts of marketing online, any sorts of internet related. He's been doing it since like 2001. He should have invented Facebook a long time ago, but he didn't. But he's still doing great, and he's probably the best pound for pound local marketer anywhere in the world. And what this means is that if you're trying to, like, service rankings, especially for HVAC, is a little bit different than other types of businesses. So you're trying to rank amazingly in a specific town. You're not trying to rank nationally. You're trying to rank on a very narrow range. So this is what he is literally probably the best in the world at. And our podcast, episode 1, is going to be about basically just a quick background about my business and where it came from back in 2007 to when I sold it in 2017. Carrie was a very integral part of that in growing the business up, and small. He was an important part of it, and yeah, between figuring out all of the online stuff and getting things going, we really launched the business, and it grew like crazy. And here's a story about that.
Welcome to the first ever podcast, which would be the pilot episode of the Home Service Pros Business Growth Podcast. I'm Carrie Blackburn. I'm along here with Steve Gadsby, the host of the show.
Is it called Business Growth Podcast? Because I think we titled it wrong.
Whatever we want to do it. I mean, this first podcast is just going to be completely messed up anyway.
Did you f that up, Carrie? I think you f that up.
Yeah, well, it's not the first time I ever f up. I'm on here with you, aren't I? At least it didn't take me 25 minutes to get ready to get on this. And I'm not sweating for going up and down the stairs to get your headset.
Well, we're gonna leave those other videos up because those are awful televisions.
Television, wow.
YouTube.
It'd be YouTube live stream. Yes.
YouTube live stream.
Yes, for sure. So anybody who's watching this is probably going to go, this is probably like the worst ever podcast they've ever seen, but it is the first one. And like Steve says, we're striving for 1 out of 10. May not be 1 out of 10. And I'm sure we're going to get a whole bunch of hate tweets from it. So send all your hate tweets at Steve. Not me, to Steve.
Deal.
So how's it going? What you been up to?
I've chatted with you today.
You still are.
that was the low point of my day, but
yes.
things are better.
The good thing is, once it's over, it can only go up from here.
Sometimes Carrie and me will burn each other, but we're going to go too far, and then we're going to offend each other. But that's how it's going to work. So, we were actually supposed to, for a pilot episode, we're supposed to have somebody on here. He's a contractor who is struggling to go to the next level with his business. So we were going to do our best. Carrie is a expert level 27 ninja kung fu fighter in the SEO world. Like, no bullshit. I know as a business owner a lot about what is a good SEO person and a mediocre. And there's 12 different, 98% know all. Everybody wants to get into it because they think, oh, it's so easy. It's not easy. It's one of the most complex things ever, and it keeps changing. So he's a kung fu ninja fighter SEO person. So that's his side of things. I know building a business that is focused on selling products or services to people at their houses. I know it well, and maybe here's the goal. Maybe between the two of us, Carrie working the back end and myself with the frontline experience, maybe we're able to add some value and help people who are struggling to build their business and to do what they want to do, or go where they want to go, because we've been doing this for years and years and years, and literally that's the only goal. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is help people. So
exactly it. So the idea is that we want to help anybody out there who has a home service business and nice glass of wine. I'm glad you'll be shit-faced by the end of the podcast, but
I will be.
No, but it could be anything from like you're going to need that after talking to me, right? Steve is obviously an expert in HVAC, and that's where his area of expertise is. But really, the area of expertise is building a business from scratch to a multi-million-dollar business, if I'm not mistaken. Correct? Yep. So, and this isn't just for people who are in HVAC. You could be doing pest control. You could be a plumber. You could be an electrician. You could be carpet cleaning, for one. You could be a carpet layer. You could be a painter. All these things that people need done to their houses. Could be landscaper, exactly. So that's another one. Yep. So what we want to do is we want to share some insight as to how Steve built his business. You can have advice for some of these people. For anybody, hopefully later on we'll be able to have people on to interview them and ask how they built their business, or even take emails and take questions from people about how to help with their business, whether it be building the business, running the business like Steve, or the marketing side of thing, the online marketing side, which I take care of. But really, this first podcast is going to be about Steve. I'm going to ask him how he built his business, his philosophies, etc., so you kind of get a better idea of who he is and what he does. And hopefully this will be interesting to some people.
Yeah, or we're not going to be able to cover too much ground, but just there's so many little bits and pieces that I think are interesting that you need to know, like leadership and making mistakes and going through slumps and a thousand other things. Because being a contractor is fucking tough. It is a fucking tough racket, right? Because you have 1,000 competitors in any larger market, so you gotta fight like a dog to try to get ahead. So I've been there, and we've been in the grinder, and we've made it through, and hopefully we can help anybody. So that's the goal.
Yeah, well, I've never been a contractor, but I know what it's like when you get clients calling you saying, "How come I'm not on the first page?" And it's 1 week into their campaign. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I don't know. Yeah, personally, Carrie knows a lot more about business to business. I know all about selling business to business. So, but Carrie will be on future episodes and talking about B2B sales.
Yes,
I know all about that world.
Well,
I prefer to deal with. I think anybody as a contractor, it's actually fun to deal with homeowners, right? Because you got, like a nice old couple, and then you just get such variety. People who can't speak English, people who are business people. You get every type of person in the entire world that you're selling to. So you got to have some a bit broader skills to be able to sell to anybody. And that's, I think, kind of my central message it'll lead back here a billion times. Everything is about sales. Every single goddamn thing you do is about sales. Like you wanted to be a electrician, or you wanted to be a plumber, or you wanted to be, if you got into contracting, you're probably very, very good at whatever trade that you were in, and that's why you became a contractor in that trade. But the moment you jump from there to a business, you are just a salesperson. So get used to it. Go hire somebody else to do your old trade, because you just signed up to be a salesperson. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect to bring in clients if you can't sell your service and you can't sell your skills. Yeah. And you have to be able to, you have to have them trust you. And I'm speaking of the home service business, is that you, like for you, is like, and your staff are walking into somebody's home to fix their furnace, to fix their hot water tank, to fix their air conditioner, install all this. And that there has to be some trust there. And so there has to be a sale beforehand to allow you to come in.
Yep, it's selling yourself. The entire thing is selling yourself. And and when we get back to web stuff and branding, all this kind of stuff, separate yourself by putting yourself all over the website, right? They don't give a shit about the box that you're selling or the picture of a rusty pipe. They don't give a fuck. They care about who's going to be coming to their house, and they're going to make an evaluation on your picture or your video or whatever if you trust this person. And they don't even need to like you, right? You don't even need to be a fucking likable person. They will make an evaluation. Do they think that you will fuck them over, and do they think that they can trust you? That's literally all that matters.
Yeah, and you really have to, if you go to the website, and this is not an episode to get into that, is that what you're saying on there has to speak to them, saying what you can do for your clients. Don't say, we've got this many degrees, we're certified in this. They want to know what you can do for them. My hot water tank is broken and I need a new one. Can you come replace it today and replace it properly and replace me with one that's going to last me 10 to 15 years?
Yeah. And there's a lot of fear, right? Like you got to think of it from the customer's perspective. They're sitting in a place, they have some urgent thing that they need to go with, a broken hot water tank, a leaking roof, whatever else. They're going to find 10,000 people all over the internet, right? So they're going to go with the one that they think is reliable, that think has the track record, all that kind of stuff. It's all about selling your play. If you haven't been around for 30 or 100 years in the business, you don't have some huge track record, you still have yourself that you can sell to them.
Yeah.
And I'd suggest video is the best way, short little video.
Yeah, somebody gave you a good idea for that, and it's worked fairly well for you.
Was that your idea?
No, actually, you were doing videos before you were talking to me. Oh. There's some out there that are just awesome.
Oh, and they're to be honest, they're fucking awful videos.
Yeah.
They're fucking awful videos. Look, yeah, we got old videos, and maybe we can splice those in here on some episode or something of basically me standing in front of a fireplace, fumbling over words, and those videos have fucking hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
Some of them, and they've made us shit piles of money. They don't have to be good videos. No. They don't have to be good content. They just have to be you being authentic in front of a camera. That's it. That's it. That's the qualifier.
Done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're shooting for this podcast. We're shooting for a 1 out of 10, and I think we're even at a 1.1 right now. 1 point. I think we peaked. I think it's time to go home.
Not just 1.1. Right? 1.1.
1.1.
Yeah, and we apologize if you don't like the language. This is the way we talk normally, and we obviously don't talk to our clients this way. But we don't talk to each other too.
Yeah, don't swear in front of clients. That's a good tip. Yeah, even if they start swearing, like let's say the guy's a trucker and he's just swearing and cursing, don't meet them on that same level, because if you do, they'll think this guy's a f***ing idiot, right?
Yeah.
Oddly enough, be a pro. Always be a professional, right?
That's right.
You'll separate yourself.
It's a good thing that people, what the language you hear from us right now is nowhere near to what it is on a tennis court when Steve's running around ready to die because I've beaten him so badly. And it sounds like we hate each other.
Here's a little, that show where like a little pop-up bubble pops up on the screen, like a little factory. You know that? You know what would pop up right now? And maybe you can add this effect later. You go, pop. Carrie's the worst tennis player you've ever seen in your life. Pop. No, it was called pop-up video in the 90s.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
it would go pop, and the balloon would like float up.
Yes, but before we get started with me, getting a background on you and how you started your business, I would really like to know where that towel went from that doubles tournament where I carried your ass. Somehow you kept both of them. I don't know.
You mean the 2.5 tournament that you shouldn't be anywhere near? that we went and wiped the floor with some people who have literally never played before? Congratulations, Gary.
Yeah. Well, I had to play 2.5 to play with you, though.
You know what? That tournament was fucking hard. We barely made it through that thing.
The first match, we barely made it through.
It is hot in this basement. It
must be.
It is hot.
Hey, I know a guy that can install an air conditioner.
No, there's too many vents down here is the problem.
Okay. Yeah, well. Anyways.
I probably have it's 7:40 right now, Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
My wife has 2 kids up there, so we probably only have like 20 minutes to complete our pilot. So
yeah. So what I was going to ask you first is that, and I don't think I've even really got down into the depths of how you got into, and you're okay with me letting you know the business name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Steve's business is Canada Furnace. And I really haven't asked him too in depth about how he started a Canada Furnace, how he got into the business. So tell me, how did you get into the business? If I remember right, it wasn't really your plan all along.
No, No, it was
Right?
actually my dad had the business before. My dad had it from like way before, and then I was up doing something else. I was 18 and I was living in the Okanagan, and I was delivering pizza. And he called me up and he's like, you know, more or less. I mean, this is what he said, but you do something with your life. Like that's not delivering pizza. So then I came back, and then we kind of did it together for a while, and then it was kind of good how the whole thing played out. So we did it together for a little while. I can't work with my dad. Love him to bits. Great guy. Can't work with him in a million years. So we kind of did it not that long together, probably like 2 years, something like that. But that kind of got me my ticket. They got the accreditation, or the tickets and all this kind of stuff. And then I just went off in the industry, working at a whole bunch of different places, working at a bunch of different businesses, doing that till I was about maybe 20, 21, 22, and then but it was good because every time I go to these places, I think, God, this isn't how I would run a business. This isn't how I would do things. But sure enough. But then I just, it got me a kind of a broad bit of experience at all these different businesses. So, and then at the same time, my dad basically kind of, Canada Furnace went dormant. He just sort of shut it down. He wasn't really interested. It was just sort of sitting there. The phone was still live, maybe bringing in like, 50 grand, $75,000 a year, just off kind of like residual phone traffic. So they phone up, say, hey, I need to fix my furnace, something like that. My dad would go out there. So it was just sort of sitting idling, and he kind of debated for years and years whether he should just shut the phone number off, go do something with it, whatever else. But he just sort of sat there, puttered away, and just sort of did nothing. And then, so I went and did a whole bunch of other stuff, and went to school, and then when I was I was actually a contractor for businesses. So it's kind of like having a business, but being a contractor for other businesses. It's like the halfway step to having a business. Because it's your own truck, it's your own tools, it's your own stuff. And then when I was like 20, I think I was 26, 27, I thought, now's the time. I want to full on do this. So I went back to my dad, and I offered him, I think the business at the time, I did $72,000 in 2006, 2007. And then I offered him $45,000 for the, or maybe I started a lot lower. That's more likely, but for the trucks and the whatever stuff it had, and that's it. I bought it off him for $500 per year, or $500 per month, until the $45,000 was paid off. So that was kind of the start of it. So but at the time when I was like 26, 27, something like that, $500 a month was kind of scary, right? Like that was actually. I was worried about that, I was, because I had actually just bought a house. I had a mortgage. I had payment, stuff like that. I was thinking, God damn it, I'm on the hook now. I got to support paying $500 a month for a business that, let's say it grossed $72,000, it might have netted, $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that, or whatever the hell it made, right? Like whatever a super ultra small business would make. So I thought, okay, I better kind of get at this and start working. So the first thing I did, I rented a little 10 by 10 little tiny space for like $100 a month at in the industrial park. And so I pulled out all these old leads. The last time Canada Furnace was actually active, actively doing like a good volume of jobs, was like back in the 90s. So I took these old dusty boxes. This is 2000. So this is like 7, 8, 9 years later, and I stuck them on the desk, and I just started cold calling, right? Because the business wasn't doing it. The phone might have rang 3 times a week, right? So that's not going to do much for me. So I just started pulling out invoices, old invoice, say, hey, Steve here from Canada Furnace. We were at your house about 9 years ago, and most people would say, "Well, that was 9 years ago." I've moved 4 times since then, and very, very quickly I realized they didn't work. It was absolutely pointless to start calling through these invoices, because it was just so old. When information gets that outdated, so one of the assets I bought off my dad was this all these boxes of old invoices and old information, which basically I had to just throw out. So from there, I got a phone book, and I set it up in the desk, and I started telemarketing through there. And you talk about being like, nervous or not knowing what the you're doing. I didn't know how to telemarket. I didn't know how to call people, but I just started cold calling. I said, "Hey, Steve, here, Canada Furnace." Then I got a bit better. I'd start saying stuff like, "Hey, we're in your area on Tuesday and Thursday. We're coming through doing furnace services. We're running a discount right now, $60 off. We're doing it for $79, and would you like us to pop in?" So I set up 2 or 3 of these. Right, then I'd go there and I would say, "Oh, hey," then I'd do the furnace service, and then the hot water tank was all rusty. "Hey, do you want to put in a hot water tank?" So I was always under the gun, like crazy, having to upsell a bunch of stuff to create something so I'd actually be able to make a living from this. So, and the funny part was, at the same time as I'm doing this, I was so scared shitless of dumping my contractor job that I had for some other place. I actually hired somebody, his name was Trevor, I think, to go and work at my old job, because as a contractor, you don't see the office. As a contractor, you just go directly to the houses and you service the furnaces and you do different stuff and you turn in your paperwork. So I hired somebody at some low wage to go and do my old job, so I wouldn't risk losing my old contractor job as I was launching Canada Furnace, or relaunching Canada Furnace. So every week I'd get a call from the office at my old job saying, "Who's Trevor? Who the is Trevor?" Right? I'd say, "Oh, shit." So about 3 weeks in, I thought to myself, okay, I'm at, I have enough confidence now that I can start setting up these jobs, telemarketing, creating this ball rolling, just barely rolling, right? That, okay, I have a few bucks coming in. Great. So, when the office was like, my old job was like, "Look, this is retarded. What are you doing? Like, who the hell's Trevor? Blah, blah." I just dumped the old job. So I waited until the very last moment to kind of burn that bridge before I kind of had enough going to keep this telemarketing. So that was
I just want to stop you there for a second, because, calling those people, just cold calling, that's not the easiest thing to do. I mean,
no, it's one of the toughest things even to now. I'd have a hard time with it now, right?
You have to have, for lack of a better word, stones to be doing it, because people must have just been like, "Who the hell are you?" And you're just hanging up in mid conversation. And
I always had a little bit of like sales confidence, and I think that's probably the most important thing that you can possibly have when you're starting it. And like, things that gave me sales confidence was going back, like when I was working for my dad back in like the 90s. He paid me horribly. Like, I think he paid me like $11 per job, but he paid me 50% of whatever I upsold. So, like the $11, I think I was paying my own gas. So it was like a break even to drive to the houses, but he'd pay me like 50% on the profit of anything I sold. So that's all I would make. Like, I actually still have these old logbooks from me upselling. So I'd be there. I'd be like, "You know what? This thermocouple, it's dusty, right? But it's worse than that. Blah, blah, blah. It looks like it's expanded. I'd swap it out. It's $35, with, $22 net profits. There's $11. And they'd say, "Look, you need a duckling," right? So from that, I kind of created sales confidence, because it was like, I had no other way to survive, right? Right. If I want, this is one of the reasons I hated work for my dad, but tough life lessons was learn how to sell or die.
Well, how did you find the time to telemarket, actually go to people's homes?
Well,
and do that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's basically, I was telemarketing whatever in the morning, going out and doing the jobs the next day, going back and telemarketing, and the whole office was my cell phone, right? So, and any calls that came in, I'm taking calls, I'm writing stuff down, and then I got, okay, you always want to delegate off the shit that you really, really don't want to do, right? So I really didn't want to telemarket, and I wasn't even that good at it, right? Like, so I got this girl, her name's Tammy, and she's just an absolutely brilliant telemarketer from, and again, it was from old, Canada Furnace back in the 1990s. She was like an outbound call person. So I called her up and I said, "Hey, I got this thing going now. I need some help." And I convinced her. I think, like, this is where I say everything is sales. Everything is sales. Everything is sales. I'm pretty sure I sold her the concept that she should, dump her job, quit her job, and come work in this horrible little cubicle, this 10 by 10 cubicle for me, making outbound calls, right? And she hustled, and she pounded out 100 calls a day, and she was setting up 5 calls a day. She'd go do 5 calls a day. I'd go out in the field, doing the jobs, upselling more jobs, and then it's just like this little snowball. So then I think year one we went from 70 to 210,000 or something, rough memory. So we tripled it in like year one, and like that was like amazing. I'm so happy about it and whatever else. And that was like the very very start of it. So.
Right. So within the first year, you tripled it, $210,000 gross, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The nice thing about being small is it's lean. It's goddamn lean. So a couple $100,000. Like you can make crazy net margins because you have zero overhead.
Right.
You're controlling every single input of the entire business. So that's always made me super super cheap, because if every single penny that you save, you can just stick in your pocket. So that always made it.
I mean, on a lean business making 210,000 gross, if your expenses are somewhere around 40 to 50%, I mean, you're making a decent net.
It was 50%. So what I was making good money as a contractor before I jumped to doing it for myself. So what I committed to myself is I'm not going to make less money just because I jumped from being a contractor to being this, and I didn't. Within that year, it was 50% net margins, and it was fine. It worked good. So
good. So from there, obviously, you've got one employee. Actually, I was going to ask you this beforehand. Is that must cutting off that extra income as a contractor? That had to be one of the scariest things just to up and decide to do.
Well, and I think one of the worst fucking pieces of advice that you see floating around out there is, basically be brave, burn your bridges, just fucking go for it. No, don't fucking do that. Don't fucking do that. Honestly, fucking, drag everything out until it's so ridiculous you can't stand it. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go start a whatever, like start while you're still working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, but you're having to like do this thing in the evenings and on the weekends until you're gonna like die of a heart attack. You get this thing going until you can't literally handle the two things running simultaneously. It was so crazy trying to deal with my old employer, me explaining why there's some random person out there that's probably not licensed, not ticketed, God knows, doing, you know what I mean? Like it was a real stretch, but I was so worried about losing that income on the other end. So
yeah, I completely understand that, because it sounds exactly like what I did.
You went through it too.
Yeah,
you had a very safe job. I mean, it's not as safe now in the newspaper industry, but
it doesn't exist now.
It doesn't even exist. So your position doesn't exist.
The department I ran doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
They outsourced it. And get this, they outsourced it to Everett, Washington.
Interesting. So you would have 100% lost it.
Yeah. It's funny that they didn't outsource it overseas. They outsourced it to the United States because it's a non-union office, and it was making like less than half of what they were here. Our department, yeah. But anyway, so after that first year and that first employee, when did you actually have to go and get more employees or even open up an office? For
me, it's always been, and it took a decade to kind of put the right pieces into place. And this is where I value and love, when you put, the people that you grow with and you develop a business with, you love them because they're, you know what I mean? Like you just love them as people, but they're so valuable and integral to the entire business, the right pieces and the right fit. So from there, I went through probably a year and a half finding the right person to be my offset in the field. Because what I wanted to do, and ultimately where I knew where my strengths was, is sales, right? I should be really as much time as I possibly can out there selling equipment and selling the most expensive things I can. So not selling as a service level, selling equipment, selling furnaces and air conditioners and stuff like that. So I went through this big, long process of finding, and I probably went through 10, 15 people that just didn't give a shit, that I tried to kind of, I'm not going to, I tried various different people in that role until I found the right fit of somebody that just worked crazy hard. We got along with great, and that really was an explosive moment for us once I had somebody that I could trust and rely on in the field, because that freed up my time. So we have somebody in the office, they're doing the thing, they're doing the phones, somebody that I trust there. Now we have somebody in the field that I trust, who then you can put people underneath him to grow that department. I go out in sales, and this was year 3. We went from 240,000 to 2 million in a 12-month period. Just boom, explosive growth. So to me, it can't be understated having the right people in the right positions to creates your foundation. Like it creates your it just creates your it's everything, right? So
Right. Well, people say that in the first 5 years you can't expect a profit for your business, but here you are 3 years in, and you're grossing over $2 million. What were you doing at that time to grow the business to go from less than right around $250,000 a year to over $2 million a year?
The biggest focus was, and because it comes from just like scrounging every lead, every opportunity, right? So if you go back to me and I'm calling one person and I'm driving to their place and I don't want to lose that lead. I want to maximize everything, because otherwise I'm not going to eat or pay my mortgage or pay my new monthly bill for this business. So I have to go there and I have to upsell something. So I want every little service call that I'm going to maximize. So every lead that we had come in, I would just treat it like gold. I would go there. I would practice how to sell things. I had a very nice opportunity in the contracting world before Canada Furnace, learning how to sell equipment. So the person that I was contracting under, they had no outbound sales, or no person out there selling. So for 2 or 3 years, he just probably gave me 1,000 leads, and I just f***ed up so many leads. And I was the worst salesperson for so long, selling $5,000 or $10,000 systems. But I was sweating, I was nervous, I was awkward. But what a learning curve. And I burned through his leads, probably selling at frickin' 20%. And then you get better. Then you sell at 25 and 30 and 35 and 40. So I had already got all that experience under my belt selling. And it's so funny, like you look back so many years in the future and you realize all of this shit and this crazy path you kind of been through, if you didn't go through these certain junction points, what you wanted to create wouldn't have happened. Like if I didn't have that 1,000 sales under my belt as this contractor, burning through leads that are so valuable and wasting most of them, I wouldn't have been able to be successful as a contractor.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of hard work in there, a lot of dedication, a lot of mistakes being made that you learn from those mistakes.
So yeah, back to your original question. It's, how did it grow? Is every lead, we treated it like gold and go there and sell it. And we carefully trying to sell everything that we possibly could. And then, there's a little bit of, there's hard work. So, I mean, the thing that we, because we couldn't afford anything else, the Yellow Pages was still big back then, but we couldn't afford $25,000, but we wanted to kind of play with the big boys. So we made a call, 10 years ago that we, basically we're not doing Yellow Pages. We're not doing anything. We're going 100% digital, which seemed goofy at the time, right? I think it was only us and one other company doing Google AdWords, right? There was nobody doing Google AdWords because nobody knew what it was, how it worked. They thought it was silly. They thought it was some crazy internet fad or something, right? So, but that's all that we had money for. So we're paying $1 per click to line up these leads, and we just maxed out our AdWords budget. Now you have to pay $15 for that same opportunity per click type thing. So we maxed that out, and we started learning web stuff, and we started getting, we started learning. We put together the first website. It was terrible, but it worked. It sold some stuff, right? We started doing videos. We started kind of putting all these pieces together, and we just learned internet marketing kind of through the process. This was PC. This was pre-carry. This was in the pre-carry days.
Don't bring me to that. But this is probably around 2010. I'm imagining that.
This is probably about 2009, 2010, and then a little stroke of luck came into that. There was this huge government rebate that dropped on furnace and air conditioners. So right by the time we kind of hit our groove and we're selling furnaces, air conditioners, and we got like a little team, the government dropped this huge rebate for thousands of dollars. there was some sort of, it was like some sort of rebate if you spend money in your house, coupled with these huge federal and provincial government rebates. So in a $10,000 system, the government would cut you a check for $3,000. And we ran that so hard, like it was on everything. We pumped it everywhere. And it was just like a perfect storm. And that's kind of, and we just rode that wave from, 200,000 to a couple million. And the next year, it was kind of funny. Like once you hit a couple million, then it was like we spent a few years learning for years, how to properly run and handle a multi-million-dollar business, right? Like because it ain't like running a $200,000 business. Everything's changed, right? And we went through systems and people and changes and just modifications, and we spent years, and we kind of hovered around there before we kind of took our next leap. But we hovered in that range for like quite a while.
Well, how about before we get to that next leap, we end this first episode, and this is probably a good spot to do it.
Yep.
And then we can pick it up from here next time, and you can tell everybody how you took it from $2 million a year to whatever it ended up being, and all the different things that you did to get it there, because obviously that's going to take some time, and we don't have a ton of time tonight in this episode to go ahead and do it. And I think your story is really interesting, and that next part I think is huge.
Yep, I agree.
Right? And the one thing I did want to ask before we end it was that, with obviously I was just saying there's a ton of hard work in there. There was a ton of thinking involved, a ton of extra time. Was there times that you thought that you were just in the right place at the right time?
Like my goal, like when I was like 18 years old, I remember telling my dad, we're at Tim Hortons or something, and saying, he's like, what do you want to do? It's like, I want to have and run a multi-million-dollar business. And you get this kind of eye roll or whatever else. Like, it's just something that you plant the seed and I even tried back when I was like 20, launching this business or that business, but I didn't have the experience or whatever else. But, it just, to me, it just felt like it was meant to be, right? That was just how things were meant to unfold in my life. And I needed to develop as a human between the years of like 18 and like 27. And I was just too immature, and I had my head too far up my ass. And I had to just go through all these tons of experiences, and, being a contractor in this and just developing as a human myself before I could even handle it. And when the universe said, hey, I think you're ready for this, it opens the door and opened the floodgates. That's how I think it unfolded. That's how I feel it happened. And I think it plays out that way in a lot of different people's lives. I think it played out that way for you, right? Like you were just ready to jump in, and it to you it felt risky. But now looking back, the riskiest thing would have been to play it safe, right? The safest thing that you could have done was broken away and built your own business.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I agreed with everything you said, is that don't just, cut yourself off from your current employment opportunity until you're ready to do it. Because I wouldn't have been able to get to where I was if I just would have said maybe 2 or even 1 year before I did.
Yep.
And I wouldn't have been ready yet. But I was, I realized that I wanted to build something on the side. And I think that's exactly what you did, is that you built something on the side along with working with those contractors, and then realized, it's the right time to go ahead and do it. But I was just, this is not about me, this episode, but it's about you. But I just wanted to say that there were times that I felt that I've looked back going, wow, I was in the right place at the right time. And there was a bit of luck there, but you had to make your own luck to get to that spot too.
Yep.
Right? It didn't just happen. There was steps to get there that you did in order to be the right place. The
door opened, and there's 25 things like that happened on the path with Canada Furnace, that just the door opens, but you gotta, you gotta be ready to run through it. And I see it happen with other people too, where the door opens in life, or maybe you open the door for somebody and you just know this can help somebody, but they just don't, right? It's just, people have to have their own get up and go, I guess.
They're not ready yet, and afraid. And
or you gotta also know what you want. Like I knew exactly what I wanted. Like I knew what I want. I didn't even know what business it was going to be at the time, but I just knew what I wanted. So I guess that kind of plants seeds in the universe, and 10 years later it sprouts up.
Yeah.
how you want it to be, right?
Interesting thing that I just remembered being at the gym today. There's a sign there that says "Life begins outside of your comfort zone."
Yes,
And,
I like that. I've read that before. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened with you. Is that your life began after you got outside of your comfort zone? And one important point you made, and just the last one, is that you said that it was maturing to like 27, and I was going to say, my feeling is that men don't mature till they're 30. Women mature earlier, right? But I know I wouldn't have been mature enough to run a business, before I was 30, like this.
Oh, well, I mean, we still like the fun of it was being immature. Like, we'd have our serious tone on, yes, ma'am, yeah, we're going to do that, blah blah. We'll be there then. This is very, we're going to resolve this. And then you hang at the phone and you make fart jokes or something. Like, I mean, like we weren't mature in any way, shape, or form.
I've seen the domain you bought. You definitely weren't mature.
No, we weren't mature. There is not much maturity to it.
There's a few domains in there that I will not mention that I went, yeah, they weren't mature yet.
Yeah. No, okay. We're going to mention it just because it came up. So this was our maturity level, let's say when I'm 27 or 28. So once we start to figure out this whole internet thing and we're like, oh, okay, this is really cool. We get into like domain names and URLs and all this kind of stuff. So we we had this idea that there was going to be a gold rush in the future for 3D domains, right? 3D was going to be the big thing in the future. So we thought we better plant our stakes in the ground when porn moves towards 3D. We better plant our stakes right now before the market never moved to 3D porn. That never happened. But so we got these domain names like I don't know, like it was the most retarded strategy ever, like Pornhub 3D or something like that, and we got another one, Piss 3D or something.
Lost your camera. There you go. You're back. Yeah.
Just some really stupid. But then we even named. Talk about maturity. We even named. We had a holding company that held because pretty quick we bought the building that Canada Furnace was in, just using profits and stuff like that. We bought the building. That was probably within like 3 years or something. And then we had to come up with a name for the holding company that held this. So we thought, okay, we combined our two last names, and the name of the holding company was Coxby Holdings, because we thought it was funny to put the word cock and holding in the same company name. That was our maturity level, right? So, but the funny part is, for like years, like 7 or 8 years afterwards, annually you meet with, because then as business grows, you start meeting with lawyers and accountants over and over and over again, lawyers and accountants, and then they have to bring this up, and they'd like kind of mutter it. They're like, oh, and this and share transfer, Coxby Holdings, and they kind of muddle it. So
you guys are snickering there, like.
Oh yeah, no, we snickered for the first 4 years, and after a while, it's like, yes. That is an asset, 3dpiss.com. And yes, the name is in our, after a while, we're just like, this is stupid. So we just had to get rid of the, but yeah, that was basically our maturity level at the time. So
that's awesome though. So that's probably the,
since I've liquidated the domains for $0, held them for many years, cost a bunch of money, have liquidated the domains, and have changed the name of the holding company. So just for clarity on that.
Interesting way to put it, liquidated. So
liquidated for $0.
Yes.
Poor investment. Don't invest in the 3D porn business. It's going to go nowhere.
People are happy with 2D.
People are very, very satisfied with 2D. Very satisfied.
I think that's probably the best place to end this first episode, and we'll pick up the next episode where Steve's going to continue where he left off. Let everybody know where his business went from there, and kind of some of his advice on how he grew his business. So, Steve,
this was fun.
Yeah, it was. I know you've got kids to go tend to. You've got like 5-6 kids now.
17 children.
17.
That's a lie.
The Gadsby bunch.
That's a lie. I don't.
Right. What we're going to do? We're going to see you on TLC soon.
No.
17 kids and counting.
Oh yeah, that's how.
We're just going to call it Hot Basement.
Yeah,
You
gotta turn the heat down.
You really should see somebody about getting that fixed, by the way.
Okay, Chris wants to. Chris says he does want to meet. So if you're available on the weekend sometime, he still wants to do this. So.
Okay. Well, we should figure out a time to do this second episode though, so that we can get
Sounds
through
good, mate.
that. And hopefully we'll have more than 0 viewers, which we have right now.
Then we'll do another podcast from the tennis court, and I'm going to show people what's up on the tennis court.
Well, I think that might be like a Facebook Live video or something like that you do. Where
who do you think is going to win a tennis game? I'm 6'3" right? And it's
6'3"
perfect athletic health
with with worse cardio than somebody with emphysema.
Kerry is 5'1". You can't tell sitting there. He's 5'1".
Hey, stop making fun of Jaunty, okay? Okay? You know what? That wasn't very nice because the other day I saw Jaunty changing the oil on his car, and he was able to sit up underneath it to do it. So,
you and your short jokes. Okay, this was fun.
Thanks, Steve, and thank you everybody who watches and listens to this first podcast of our Home Service Pros podcast. And hopefully we'll get you to come back for more. All right.
Thanks,
Steve. Bye.
It's not recording.
I told you the camera facing us is Carrie's not very tech savvy.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the time. It says 0.
You see the camera behind? There's two phones. One's facing us.
I see.
Carrie's not that good with technology. You know what I mean? Surprisingly, like he's a very good online marketer. But keyboard. How does this work? Hey, thank you for listening to our podcast, and hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun making it. We got lots more podcasts coming up in the near future. And if you have a business, specifically say an HVAC business or a service type business, and you're anywhere in the United States, what you need to do is reach out to Kerry. So Kerry can help you with your business. He can build it up and do amazing things in terms of your online marketing. 99% of online marketers are horrible. They do not know what they're doing, but they're good at selling themselves is the confusing part. So Kerry's a pro, Kerry's an expert. Go with him. For us, if you're anywhere, you have an HVAC company anywhere in the United States, reach out to me. Go into our website, go out to furnaceusa.com/contractors, and you're going to find a little way to contact us. And I'm looking for partner companies all over the U.S. We service parts of the U.S., but we still need partner companies everywhere because we sell jobs all over the United States. So reach out to us, reach out to me, and we'll be able to help you.
The way I can help you out, and the way my business can help you out, is if you're a local business that's operating in the home service industries, whether it be pest control, whether it be HVAC, whether it be plumbing, whether it be anything where you're helping out people with homes, could be roofing as well, is that we will help you get found on the first page, and a lot of times near the top of the first page, for whatever business or whatever service you're offering in whatever city. So if you're in Omaha, Nebraska, for example, and you are an HVAC tech and you are looking to sell air conditioners or be an air conditioning repair, we can get you found on the first page for things like air conditioning repair Omaha or Omaha AC repair, that type of thing. So it doesn't have to be Omaha, it can be any city you want. And that's what we strive to do and what we do very well for our clients. And it doesn't just necessarily have to be search engine optimization. It can be Facebook marketing, it can be pay-per-click marketing, or even a web design. We can do all of that for you. So if you're looking for that type of thing, go to SEOcarry.com. You can ask for a free quote. You can also ask for an audit analysis, or just talk to us, see what we can do for you. That's what you can do there. Plus, you'll be able to download one of our free cheat sheets on how to do a lot of your own SEO on your website. So that's free to you. And go over to SEOcarry.com.